Another issue is that landlords can now bring former tenants to the Landlord and Tenant Board. Previously, the LTB only had jurisdiction to hear a landlord's application if they had filed while the tenant was still in the unit. If not, they had to go to small claims court, whether it was for arrears or interference or damage or anything. And this has caused a lot of confusion between the LTB and the court, with different judgments saying that it should be heard at the Landlord and Tenant Board versus heard at the court, and then there are different limitation periods or lengths of time that people have to file. It's caused a lot of confusion. So now landlords can bring applications for any form of cost or compensation, and whether it's arrears, utilities, damage, or interference, for up to 1 year after the tenant has left the unit. And when I say compensation here, I don't mean additional compensation, I don't mean profit, I mean out-of-pocket expenses. And likely what will happen is that the small claims court will now totally get out of the business of making arrears, having to hear arrears or damage or what have you, because landlords will have the ability to go first to the Landlord and Tenant Board. So some concerns or some things to think about. The Landlord and Tenant Board is a less expensive forum for disputes to be tried than in the courts. A concern, though, is that the LTB has less stringent procedural protections, especially in relation to service of documents. And you can imagine a situation where a tenant was fearful of their landlord and so left partly to escape some harassment and didn't want to tell their landlord where they were going. And so in those sorts of situations, they may not let their landlord know, the landlord may not be able to contact them, and the landlord may get permission from the LTB to proceed with a case without first serving the tenant. And that is less likely to happen in small claims court. So I think that there's a greater risk that tenants will not receive notice of these sorts of applications, or will have to give their landlord their forwarding address where they wouldn't otherwise want to.